Hi, I'm Jamie, Toronto Real Estate Navigator with Bosley Real Estate. I've got a special guest today. This is Leia, our cat. That's her perch where she naps in the afternoon. So I'm just gonna go ahead and film anyway. I wanna talk about haggling commission for realtors. So the idea is that a seller is thinking of selling their home and they're either talking to a realtor or multiple realtors and they're trying to reduce the commission. Now, first thing I want to say is this is not going to be a plea to ask you to stop doing that. By all means, go ahead. Nor is it going to be any kind of video looking for any kind of sympathy, talking about what we spend or our expenses or the fact that whatever. Not going to be either of those things. Now, there's, I think, two kinds of people who haggle with a realtor based on commission. One type of person does not like realtors. They just want to get a reduction in the commission. They feel like they're forced to work with realtors despite what they would prefer to do maybe, and they just want to stick it to realtors because they don't really like them. That's fine. This video is not for you. You should probably stop watching. I don't know why you're watching in the first place, but my message is not going to be meaningful or to you if you are that type of person at all. The other group of people who are trying to get a reduction in commission when they're working with a salesperson to sell their home, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, please tell me otherwise in the comments, but I think what the goal is to try and reduce the amount of expenses or costs that are incurred by a seller when the house closes, and therefore trying to increase the amount of profits that somebody's trying to achieve when they sell a property. And that's great. I think trying to increase the amount of profits that somebody achieves should be relatively high on most people's goals when they're trying to sell their place. But there's more than one way to cook an egg, and that's what this video is going to be about. Just real quick on a personal note, I was going to use another very common expression about how there's more than one way to do something, but with present company being who they are, I decided to go with the egg analogy instead. So I hope Leia appreciates that. So in order to break this down and make an effective argument, what I want to do is I want to take a look at just a few statistics to help describe and derive outcomes of a couple of different scenarios where in one scenario you work with a realtor who's working at a reduced commission rate, and another scenario where you're working with a realtor who's working at a kind of a full service rate, if you will. So I took a look at the numbers for the City of Toronto for sales occurring in January of this year only, just to use that month as an example. So the average sale price for the City of Toronto was $766,616. Now, the average ratio between the sale price and the listing price was 98.6%. So what this means is there was a 1.4% difference between what somebody was asking for the sale of their home and what someone achieved for the sale of their home. And essentially, one could argue that kind of the average realtor, if you will, because these are the the average stats for the average home for January in Toronto. The average realtor achieves a 98.6% sale to listing price ratio when they're selling a home. Now that means that the average asking price, based on these statistics, was $777,349. So let's take a look at two scenarios. Scenario one is where you hire Realtor A and you're able to negotiate their commission down from 5%, which is standard, to 4%. Now, the listing agent is going to take that 1% difference off of their own portion of the commission. So the idea is that their version or their portion of the sales commission is 1.5%, and then the other 2.5% is what is offered to the cooperating broker who is bringing the buyer for your property. So if we use those statistics that I mentioned before, with an average asking price of $777,349 and an average sale price of $766,616, what you'd end up paying that listing realtor in commission after tax is $12,994. That's 1.5% plus tax of that $766,000 sale price. If you consider the entire 4% commission and the tax that you'd have to pay on those services, not including any closing costs or costs to stage the property, or whatever your mortgage happens to be, but just looking at the commission subtracted from the sale price, the person's net in scenario 1 would be $731,965. Now let's take a look at a second scenario. So Realtor B is hired, and they are hired at 5% commission. An even split, 2.5% to them, 2.5% to the buyer's realtor. But at 5%, this realtor was able to achieve 100% of the asking price. So the ask price is $777,349, and they're able to achieve that same sale price, whether that be through better marketing and advertising, better negotiation skills, better contacts with other realtors who may have appropriate buyers for your property. Whatever the case is, they're able to achieve a higher sale price than Realtor A, but at a higher commission rate. So at 2.5% plus tax commission, you'd end up paying that realtor $21,960. That's almost a $9,000 difference in commission between Realtor A and Realtor B. But let's take a look at the net after you subtract the 5% commission and the tax. The net is $733,429. That means that Realtor B, even at a higher commission rate, has achieved a greater overall net for the seller of just under $1,500, and that could take care of a good portion of your closing costs with your lawyer, just as an example. So which realtor would you prefer to work with? The one that put more money in your pocket at the end of the day, or the one who you paid in less commission, but you also overall put less money in your pocket after the end of the transaction? Now, you might be looking at that scenario and you might be saying to yourself, well, I want Realtor B at Realtor A's prices. And of course, who can blame you for thinking that? But no matter the line of work, whether it's real estate or anything else for that matter, the people who are best at their jobs, the people who achieve results, are the people who can command higher prices for their services. The last takeaway that I want to mention is that multiple realtors may say the same thing during the interview process about what they feel is the relative market value for your property, or what they think the market might bear for your property when you sell it. But as we've seen, the average realtor achieves about 1.4% less than what they think the likely value will be. Your job is to try and figure out which realtor has the best plan to try and achieve the sale price that's closest to the asking price, and that would be through, again, superior marketing and negotiation skills and etc. Now, I know I just said the last takeaway, but something else just came to mind that I think is a really important point. The sale of your home is likely going to be one of the largest transactions that you will conduct in your life. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, do I want to hire the person who I was able to out-negotiate and get them to reduce their commission price? Or do I want to put the person in charge of this multiple hundred, if not $1 million transaction? Do I want to put the person in charge who I tried to out-negotiate, I tried to get them to reduce their commission, but I was unsuccessful in doing so? Is that the person that I want to put at the lead? Or is that the person who I want fighting for me and what I'm trying to achieve at the negotiating table? So this is all food for thought, things to consider as you are potentially thinking about or working towards looking to hire somebody to sell your home. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.